Hi, I'm Stuart Clayton and welcome to the fourth lesson in my series on scales. In this lesson we're going to look at major scales, major pentatonic scales and minor pentatonic scales. And once again we're going to look at how we can develop these for use all over the fretboard in all 12 keys. Okay, now we're going to start with the C major pentatonic scale. I'm just going to play it through for you first so you can get used to what it sounds like. Okay, so as you can probably hear, it's an obvious major scale. It's derived from the major scale, but it's slightly different in that it contains only 5 different notes. Now what we've done is we've taken the C major scale and we've removed 2 scale degrees. We've removed the 4th degree, which is F, and the 7th degree, which is B. So the major pentatonic scale is essentially just a major scale with a couple of notes removed. Okay, so we've got rid of the F and the B. Okay, now, once again, armed with this knowledge, which is of a content rather than any kind of pattern, I'm going to play that scale on just one string. Okay, so we're going to essentially be playing a C major scale. We're going to leave out the F and the B. Here we go. Okay, now let's try that over 2 octaves. Okay, so playing the pentatonic scale will feel a little bit unusual at first because it's a 5-note scale. Penta is the Greek word for 5, which is where the scale gets its name from. Now, one of the other ways that you can go about learning the pentatonic scale is through a series of box shapes. These are really popular with guitarists who use the scale a great deal, and we're going to look briefly at those now. Essentially, they're like modes of the pentatonic scale, if you like. So the first one is begins from C, and it's basically just the pentatonic scale that we've already looked at. The second one begins from D. The third one begins from E. The fourth one from G. The fifth one from A. And then we're back to the first one again. Okay, now one of the exercises that I usually get students to go through when learning these pentatonic box shapes is just to start on a root note of C. You play through each box shape in turn. So I'll illustrate that for you now. Okay, so that's just a quick exercise that should get you around the pentatonic scale and all its box shapes. And you can download the music for that from the website, as well as diagrams of the various box shapes. We're going to look now at a bass line that makes use of the pentatonic scale. This is going to be using the G pentatonic scale. So this one will be derived from the G major scale. And what I'm going to be doing is sticking close to the root position and just using notes from the first couple of box shapes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that was a simple pop groove that made use of the G major pentatonic scale. And just to briefly explain what I did there, I started off with the G and the octave. Then I used some notes from the second box shape, this one. So I went. In the second bar, I once again used some notes from this second box shape. The third bar was identical to the first. And in the final bar, the fourth bar, I visited the third box shape briefly, up onto the B there, and then I went back to the second box shape. Okay, so that's just basic use of the pentatonic box shapes. I'm going to look now at a second bass line that makes use of the pentatonic scale. We're going to go back to the C major pentatonic for this one. This is going to be a slap groove. Now, if you're not familiar with the slap and pop technique, there's some lessons that you can look at on the website as well for that. If you haven't got that together, you can do the same exercise with normal fingerstyle technique. Here we go, this is the C major pentatonic scale in a slap groove. Okay, so that exercise made good use of the C major pentatonic scale. Once again, I just used 2 or 3 of the basic box shapes. I started off with, and then used notes from the second box shape. Okay, made good use of that box shape there. The second bar, I used notes from the scale, but I went out of position and used an open E, the G below the C, and then up to the D, where I played. Bar 3 was identical to bar 1, and in the final bar I visited the second box shape and the first one again, where I played. Okay, so once again, just very basic use of the pentatonic box shapes. Okay, we're going to move on now and start looking at the minor pentatonic scale. Now, the minor pentatonic scale is derived from the natural minor scale. I'm going to play it for you now. Okay, so once again, this is a shortened version of a scale we already know. This is the A natural minor scale with 2 notes removed, and we've removed the 2nd degree of the scale, which is B, and the 6th degree of the scale, which is F. Now, you might remember that these are the same notes that we removed from the C major pentatonic scale. This is because the scales are related, so we remove the same notes from either one. Okay, so we're left with this 5-note scale. Okay, now let's use that knowledge to play the same thing just on one string. And over 2 octaves. Okay, so once again, the minor pentatonic scale is usable through a series of box shapes, which we looked at with the major pentatonic. Let's look at the box shapes that come from the minor. The first one is begins from the root note A. The second from C. The third from D. The fourth from E. And the fifth and final one is from G. Okay, now those are the same box shapes as we learnt in the key of C. They just occur in a different order because we're playing in the key of A minor. Now, as we did with the key of C major pentatonic, we can play a bass groove, which is just essentially some root notes, followed by a quick run around the box shape. Here we go, let's start with the first one. Okay, that's just a basic exercise that will get you going around the 5 box shapes. One really cool thing you can do with that exercise is just to alter the order in which you visit those shapes. So you could start off with the first one and go to the fourth one, and just mix the order up a little bit. That might help you get around the fretboard a little bit better with it. Okay, we're going to start looking at some bass grooves now that make use of the minor pentatonic scale. We're going to look at the E minor pentatonic scale for this exercise. So we're thinking of the E natural minor scale, but we're going to remove a couple of notes from that to make E minor pentatonic. So we're not going to have an F sharp, which is the second. We're not going to have a C, which is the 6th degree of the scale. So what we're left is with the E minor pentatonic scale, and this is going to be a rock groove. Okay, so that's a rock groove in the E minor pentatonic scale. Just to look briefly at what I played there, the whole exercise was really just based on an octave and root figure. And I played 2 16th note fills. I used a box shape for the first one. Okay, fairly basic fill. And the second fill that I played at the end of the 4th bar was a classic minor pentatonic descending run. Okay, it's a great run to know in all of the minor pentatonic keys. It's really good for rock and funk stuff. Okay, we're going to look now at a second minor pentatonic rock groove. This is going to be using the A minor pentatonic scale. This is a slightly slower track. Okay, so that was an exercise that made use of the A minor pentatonic scale. And once again, it's really important that you download the music for these exercises from the website and transfer them to all 12 keys so you get the absolute maximum benefit from them. Okay, we're going to look finally at the blues scale. Now this is derived from the minor pentatonic scale again. It's almost identical, except we're just going to add one note into the scale to make it the blues scale. And this one note is known as the blue note. I'm just going to play you an A blues scale. So you can see that I've played an A minor pentatonic scale. I've just added in this D sharp E flat. And this is the note that gives the scale its bluesy quality. Okay, so you can now adapt the minor pentatonic scales that you've already developed into being blues scales just by adding this extra note in. So let's try that just on the one string. And now over 2 octaves. Okay, so once again I'm going back to taking a scale I already know and just adding a note to it just to create a new one. And that's the blues scale in this case. I'm going to look now at a couple of bass lines that make use of the blues scale. This is going to be a funk groove using the F blues scale. So it's essentially an F minor pentatonic scale with an added B, or C flat if you prefer to think of it that way. This is going to be a funk groove, as I said. So let's see what happens. Okay, that exercise was a funk groove and it made use of the F blues scale. Just to briefly talk about what I did in that exercise, I was focusing on chord tones of root and 7, and then visiting the blue note briefly, and then on the way down I hit the third of the chord and the root again. Now that figure is a nice sort of bluesy riff, and that fits really well in sort of funk and soul grooves. And the second bar I played a descending blues scale figure. Again, making use of the B, the blue note. The third bar was identical to the first. And in the final bar, I played a descending blues scale figure. Now again, this is a classic blues figure, and it's one that you should move around into all of the other 11 keys and really get the benefit of it. Okay, let's look now at another blues scale riff. This one is going to be in the key of E. We're going to be using the E blues scale. So thinking of the E minor pentatonic, but we're adding in a B flat, which is the flat 5, or you can refer to it as A sharp, as a sharp 4. Here we go. Okay, so that exercise was a slower rock groove, and that made use of the E blues scale. Okay, so I was sticking with 16th notes throughout most of that, and what I was doing was start off with 4 on the E, and then I start straight away on the blue note, the B flat, hammer on to the B, up to the D and back to the B, and then once again I'm using the blue note to descend. Okay, so there's a lot of focus on the blue note so far. In the second bar, do the same thing, but I put in this fill that we looked at in the previous exercise. Okay, so just sliding up to the blue note again, just to really emphasize it. And in the final bar, I played a longer sort of descending fill. What I played was starting from the blue note again, using the B flat, the B and the D. And then a descending minor pentatonic fill. I didn't use the blue note on the way down. Okay, so you could make that B natural a B flat on the descending part if you wanted to add an extra bluesy quality to the line. Okay, once again, it's really important that you take both of these lines and develop them in the other 11 keys to really get the most from them. That concludes our look at pentatonic scales and the blues scale. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next lesson.